we start set 3 with another proportions and corresponding sides. There's a lot of these, and so if you have similar shapes, then you want to make sure the shapes are organized in the same directions, in which these are already organized. And so I'm going to have small to big. So all your relationships you want. Small, we're going to make ourselves a note. So it's going to be small over big. Okay, so in the first one, they want us to figure out D. So first of all, I need to do a small and a big of two sides are the same. So I'm going to do this one, which is 6 on the smaller shape. And then the same side, the corresponding side, is 9 on the large one, is equal to small and big. So now this one we want to use the one with the unknown. So we're going to do the small that we do know to the big of the one we don't know. So we want to figure out what is D. So the most important thing with proportions is that you keep them consistent and you do corresponding sides. Then after that, it's just cross multiply and solve. So 6 times D is 6D. And then 9 times 10 is 90. You want to solve. So if they multiply by 6, you divide both sides by 6. And we will find that D is equal to 15. So this is an input problem. So you would actually put the value in. It's not multiple choice. All right, Arlene, Benjamin, Cristiano have a total of 35 board games. So let's just do that one real quick. Arlene, Benjamin, plus Cristiano all total have 35. Okay. Benjamin has twice as many games as Arlene, and Cristiano has 3 more games than Arlene. How many games does Arlene have? So first let's come over here to the second sentence. Benjamin has twice as many as Arlene. So we'll just let Arlene be A. Cristiano has 3 more than, so that's Arlene plus 3. 3 more than Arlene, or more than is plus. Or we could have said 3 plus A. It doesn't matter. So now we're going to take these values for B and C and substitute them in up here. So I'll have A for Arlene plus, this time instead of B, I'm going to plug in 2A. So I have 2A. And this time instead of C, I'm going to plug in A plus 3. So substitute in A plus 3. Now this is 1A, 2A, so 2 plus, there's a known 1 here, so 2 plus 1 is, that's 3. There's a known 1 here, so that's 4A. Add like terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4A plus 3, don't forget that, equals 35. Subtract 3 from both sides. Solving the equation now. You get 4A equals 32. They multiply by 4, you divide both sides by 4. So A is equal to 8. How many games does Arlene have? So Arlene has 8. Okay. If 4A plus 2/3 times B equals 26 and B equals 9, what is the value of A? So I have 4A plus 2/3 times B, that's a plus, equals 26. And they tell us B is 9. So if I plug in 9 right here, or I can make it a fraction so it's easier because it's 9 over 1, that's the same thing. Then I can just simplify right here. Leave 4A alone. Leave that alone. So we're just going to reduce this fraction. Cross cancel, divide by 3. If I divide that by 3, I can divide this by 3 and then multiply straight across. So 2 times 3 is 6 and 1 times 1 is 1. So that's just going to give me 6 over 1, which is just 6. Okay, or you can go out to the side and do 2 times 9 is 18, 3 times 1 is 3, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. So you can either cross cancel to simplify, or you can multiply straight across and simplify, or you can just plug it in your calculator and simplify. So don't make that the hard part. Now we're solving the equation. Subtract 6 from both sides. I'm going to have 4a is equal to 20. Divide both sides by 4. A is equal to 5. So you want to come up here and plug in 5. Alright, class of 22 students. Students earned an average of $34. Remember, average is a total divided by the amount of students, so they're given an average. The principal decides to purchase a candy bar from each student, adding 3 additional to each of their sales. Okay, um, so to get the average, you take the total cost, which we don't know what it is, the amount, divide by the students. There were 22 students, and the average came up to be $34. Okay, so what we didn't know was what the total cost was, but we did know the total number of students and the average. Okay, um, we could cross multiply to solve for that total right there. Um, so if I put that over 1, I could cross multiply and just get the total is equal to 22 times 34, which is going to be $748. So the first amount was $748. And then he said, well, the principal bought a candy bar from every student. So if there were 22 students and it added $3 to each of their sales, so $3 to each of those 22 students, the total amount should have gone up $66, right? So if we know the original, the 748, and then we know that it goes up $66 after he buys the additional candy bars, we can just add those together to get the new total amount of money raised, which is going to be $814. All right, a costume designer needs to cut a circle of fabric with a radius of 16 inches. The supplier sells only rectangular shapes. What's the minimum area in square inches that the designer must purchase? So first of all, we'll try to just, we have a circle we're trying to do, and the radius, which means halfway from there to there, is 16. If we know the radius, then what is the diameter all the way across? If the radius is halfway and it's 16, that means the diameter is 32. Okay, well, she only sells things in squares. Well, if it's a square, which is a perfect square, pretend that's perfect. It's all sides the same, right? So how far do we need it to be across? 32. My circle does not fit in my square very well, but we can pretend that my drawing's good, right? So we know we need, if the diameter is 32, then we have to have a square that's 32 by 32, because if it's square, both sides are the same, all sides are the same. So area is 32, length times width, or base times height, so it's going to be 32 times 32, which is 1024. So what's the minimum area? So that's the smallest piece. Yeah, so this drawing's not very good, so technically our circle would fit like right inside of that. But the most important thing is that you take it from radius, which is half, to the diameter, which is all the way across, to figure out how wide you need it to be. And once you know how wide it is, then you also know how tall it is, because a square is exactly the same sides. And then area is just base times height. Alright, in this figure, what's the perimeter? Perimeter, rim means all the way around. So perimeter by definition is we need to know this side plus this side plus this side. And that's what our task at hand is going to be. But the issue is that we don't know this side over here just yet. Now we have to look at it and think about some properties of triangles. First of all triangles add up to 180 degrees. Well, that's 40, that's 100, that's 140. What's that make the last one? 40 more. So first of all, if I figure that out, and then I can see that this is an isosceles triangle, and it's isosceles because two sides are the same, right? So if two sides are the same, then what we have there is if this one's 40, um, if this one's 40 and opposite of it is 4, and then we know if this one's 40, then opposite of it must be 4 as well because they're the same. So if two angles are the same, that means two sides of it is the same. So you go opposite of this one is 4 and opposite of this one is 4, and then this one was given. So now we need to know, we know we have sides 4, 4, and 9. We want the perimeter, so we're going to add up 4 plus 4 plus 9. So it's 17. Alright, if 6 is less than m is less than 10, and 20 is less than n is less than 30, then the value m divided by n. Our focus is going to be this value m divided by n, and we need to know all the possibilities. So let's just start, we want to consider all the values, but let's just start with the first one when m is 6, so the least value, m is 6, and when n is 20. Then I would have m divided by n, which is just going to be, reduce that, divide by 2, 3/10, right? The next term is, what about when m is 6, m is 6, but this time n is the 30. So m is 6, n is 30. That is, both of them have a 6 in common, so divide by 6 and I get 1, divide by 6 and I get 5. So reduce the fractions so you can see. The next time, I did all the possible cases when m is 6, so now I'm going to do all the possible cases when m is 10. So if m is 10, when n is 20, then do m divided by n, so that's 10 divided by 20, that reduces to 1/2. And then this time I'm going to do when m is 10, but this time the n is 30. So that I've considered all possible scenarios. So m divided by n is 1/3. Okay, so what I'm really looking at here is after I've assessed all possible scenarios, let's compare these. So 3/10 is 0.3. You can put these in your calculator. 1/5 is 0.2. 1/2 is 0.5. And 1/3 is 0.3 with the bar over it. And I want to put these in order from least to greatest. So this one's the smallest one, 1/5. Then I have 3/10, because this one doesn't have the bar over it, this one does. Then I have 1/3. So put them in order from least to greatest, and then my biggest one is 1/2, which is 0.5. So use the decimal value to be able to put the fractions in order least to greatest. And so this is my smallest possible value, and this one's my largest possible value. So that's what we want to know. Our m divided by n can be expressed in between this one, 1/5, to this one, which is 1/2. And that looks like this answer choice. The graph shows the coordinate plane for which value of x is f of x equal to 7. First of all, function notation is simply f of x is equal to y. And if they tell you in this particular case f of x is equal to 7, they're just asking you when y is 7, what is x? Well, we come over here to the y value. Remember, this is the x-axis, that's the y. So when you go to y is 7, that's right here, and you go over to your function, and it says, what is the x value? 6. Alright, you have a cylinder water tank, radius of 5, height of 12, all that's drawn on the picture. If 250 cubic feet of water, that's the water that's placed, um, what's the height of the water? So we want to know what is h of this part, not h of the entire thing. The entire cylinder height is 12. We want to know the height of the water right here. So from here to here. Alright, so the first thing we need to know is that volume of a cylinder is pi r squared, which sets the circle, area of a circle, times the height. Alright, but we only care about the water parts and not the entire cylinder. So they tell us 250 cubic feet of water, so we know the volume is 250 pi. We do know the radius, because the radius, they told us radius is 5, is right there. So 5 squared, and we're looking for the height. What is the height? So we're looking for h. Our goal is to solve for h. So we're just going to have 250 is equal to 5 squared is 25, so I'm going to say 25 pi h. If I want to get h by itself right here, then, and they multiply by 25 pi, remember pi is just a number, then divide both sides by 25 pi. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. When that cancels, we'll have h by itself. So h is just going to be, that'll reduce. 250 divided by 25 is 10 over pi. Now just go put that in the calculator. 10 divided by pi, and you're going to get approximately 3.18 if you round it to the hundredths place. So go to the calculator, put 10 divided by pi, and it's going to give you approximately 3.18. Alright, Kathleen graded essays on a scale from 1 to 5 for 50 students. The scores are shown in the bar. What is the mean score for the essays? That means average. So it means add them all up and divide by the total. But first of all, we have to use the chart to figure out that. So a score of 1 was how many students? Right there, 5. What about for a category of 2? A score of 2 looks like 12 students. For a score of 3 looks like 13 students. So that's going to be 39. A score of 4 looks like 11 students, which is 44. And a score of 5 looked like 9 students. So that means the total was add up 5 plus 24 plus 39 plus 44 plus 45, and you get 157. But remember, the average is the total divided by the amount of students, and we said we have 50 students total, so divide that by 50, and you put that in the calculator and you should get 3.14.